When I started career, AI wasn't an option. If I was stuck in emails, documentations, or jury tickets, that just was my entire day. Now, I treat AI like an intern. It's not perfect, but it does parts of my job so I can actually focus on the parts that matters. In this video, I'll share exactly how I use AI day to day, the specific tools, the unexpected ways that saves me hours of time, and also limitations that nobody actually talks about. When I first started as software engineer, AI as we know it today wasn't even on the radar. So if I needed something done, I would just roll up my sleeves and go ahead and do it myself. I often was asked to take meeting notes, and I used to do it on a piece of paper by hand. And then I would type up a summary and send it to my colleagues. And of course, typing out the summary from handwritten notes is not fun at all because sometimes I couldn't understand what I was writing, it wasn't complete, and I had to remember what was actually talked about in the meeting so I can write the summary that looks good. I'll probably sometimes miss some details, but that's just how things used to be. And debugging. It's probably the worst. I would spend hours on Stack Overflow or just Googling the error, trying out different things, different fixes, looking at snippets of code, and it would take my whole afternoon, maybe sometimes even the whole day. Test data was actually another thing that I had to deal with. Once I spent the entire afternoon creating fake users, bank data, transactions, accounts, just so the demo looks really polished. And then soon after that, I got the news that the feature was cut and all that work went straight to trash. I felt busy all the time, but not with the work that actually mattered. It felt like I wasn't actually building anything. So now everything is completely different. If I need a meeting notes, I would just use AI to summarize things and just send out to my team. Instead of chasing the forum threads and Googling the error, I would just paste the error logs and get the direct explanation. And the test data, I just need to describe what I want and I would get it instantly. So this shift isn't about saving hours. It's about energy. Back then, I would end my day drained, but nothing to show for it. And now I actually finish with momentum because my tools actually working for me, not the other way around. And it wasn't just engineers who had to deal with that. Students, including me, used to spend nights highlighting textbooks, restructuring the handwritten notes, trying to make sense of it, just hoping that something would stick. Managers sit through empty meetings just to repeat the same stuff over and over again. And even creators, they spend hours drafting thumbnails, creating titles, or cutting clips manually before they could even touch the fun part, creating. It was all the same story. Work looked busy on the surface, but drained the energy needed for meaningful stuff. So these days, I handle things entirely differently. And the biggest change is how I use different tools for different parts of my work. So for meetings, I don't write my notes by hand anymore. I have Firefly's AI set up to join meetings automatically. And by the time the meeting's over, I already have a transcript, a summary, and action items. No more piecing things together from handwritten notes. For coding and debugging, I lean on GitHub Copilot and Codex. This is all in VS Code. I'm still writing and reviewing a lot of logic myself because AI cannot replace me yet, and I'll explain why in a minute. But when I need boilerplate code, test cases, or even a quick refactor, it gives me a draft in seconds. What used to eat up my whole afternoon now comes down to copy, tweak a little bit, refactor, and it's done. So for research and documentation, I've been experimenting with Google's Notebook LM. I can fit an entire PDF with technical docs or product specs and just asking the questions instead of scrolling through 50 pages. So it's like just skipping straight to the answer. And here's the use case I never expected is that I'll use ChatGPT voice model for interview preparation. I'll give it the job description, my resume, some related questions that I found on the internet, and I'll ask it to act like an interviewer. It felt awkward at first, but actually I had an interview when the real interviewer asked me about 80% of the questions that AI asked me just about an hour before the interview. So each tool solves a different problem and takes the weight off the things they used to drain me. So when I put them together, they actually cut off hours of work that never really moved things forward. And when I can take that time back, I finally get to focus on the part of engineering that I enjoy the most: building. When people talk about AI, it often sounds like it's thinking, like it has intelligence on its own, making decisions, weighing options, but that's just marketing. In reality, it's basically just supercharged autocomplete. Think about when you type in something on your phone, you write, I'm heading to, and it guesses home or work, whichever you type more often. It's not thinking about where you're going, it's just pulling from the patterns it's seen before. So AI basically does the same thing, but on a massive scale. It's predicting the next word, the next token, based on billions of examples it was trained on. And that's why sometimes it feels like it's something brilliant, and other time it spits out something completely wrong. So the reason this matters explains why you cannot just hand off all your work to AI. It doesn't actually understand the problem that you're trying to solve. It's not reasoning, it's just pattern matching. But pattern matching can actually be incredibly useful. When I paste a messy log file and ask, what's going on here? It can give me a solid explanation just because it's seen so many errors before. Same with drafting an email. It's not deciding on what's important. It's just producing a text that looks like an email. The actual judgment call, real thinking, it's all mine. And here's why I think this distinction is really important. Scaling technology won't magically turn it into real intelligence. When I think about it, it reminds me of a space travel. When humans first landed on Moon, they imagined that vacationing on Mars would be just around the corner, but 60 years later, we're still not there. Because getting to Mars requires some breakthroughs in things like medicine, propulsion, and sustainable habitats before it's even possible. Large language models are the same way. Making them larger doesn't suddenly give them reasoning or judgment. So to get there, we would need a whole new approach, something beyond pattern matching, something closer to how human brain actually work. Until then, those tools are powerful assistants, but they're not replacements for human thinking. I'm not using AI to avoid work. I'm using it to clear the path so real work actually gets done. The code, the problem solving, the building, it's all on me. The real opportunity isn't in waiting for AI to think for us, it's learning how to use it well. People who experiment, who figure out where it really fits into their day, they'll get the most out of it. So if you're already using AI, try to push it a little further. Automate one more step. Try one more tool and see what happens. If you want to keep exploring this with me, hit subscribe. I'll be sharing more about what I learned along the way. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.